People of the internet, welcome to a new episode of the Light Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Scott Pearson, and as always, I'm joined by my brother, Big John L. John, what's good, man? What's going on with you today?
What's going on, Scott? You know, today started off with a lot of, optimism.
Yeah.
And by the time I came home by around 3:30 this afternoon, a little bit was gone out of my optimism glass. But we're going to make it all right. We're going to make it all right. How you been, Scott?
I'm good, man. I have, some of the same feelings about it. I can't say I'm too surprised. You know what I mean? I think, given everything that's going on with 2020, I mean, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. You know what I mean? And, when you approached me about, our topic today and our interview topic, and I was extremely excited and, looking forward to the topic. So joining us, for this special episode of Light Podcast on this special day, January the 6th, 2021, which will no doubt go down, in infamy in American history. No better time to have this conversation than with, the extremely talented Garett Jackson. Garett, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today, man?
I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Scott. Appreciate you, John. Excited to be on the Light Podcast with you gentlemen. What a day.
Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, man. I did a little bit of research on you before we started, just to make sure that, I could, talk to you intelligently about, your background and about what you've accomplished and about who you are. But I think there's no better person to do that, to start that conversation than yourself. Why don't you give our listeners just a little bit of background about who you are and where you come from and some of the things that you've done that led us to you and the song that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
No doubt. So I gotta, I guess, kind of pause parenthetically and shout out my brother-in-law, John. You know what I mean? This is a fixed fight right here. You know what I'm saying? On the podcast was something special. Nah, man, seriously, I'm just enjoying the opportunity to be here. And he didn't have to extend the offer to come on the show. So I appreciate you, Bill. I appreciate you, man. But so I'm, from the area, from the Washington, D.C. area, born and raised, studied music at Morgan State and really kind of got my start in the kind of classical scene, to be honest with you. Studied a variety of different languages and thought I would pursue opera as kind of my craft and gift. I still do sing and perform. It's been a little bit different in the COVID era. So not doing as much of that, but out of this season, I still had some interests in gospel and jazz and soul and R&B and different genres that I performed throughout the years. And then about 10 years ago, even kind of leading up to all of the singing that I've still been doing, I decided to get a master's in public policy. As I was really interested in the intersection of politics and people. And not so much myself being a political, I really wanted to understand some of the underlying decisions and the consequences of those decisions and how they impact some of our daily lives from the municipal level all the way up to the federal level. So I decided to study public policy to get that insight, to get a bit sharper on understanding data, being able to really understand how those decisions from our leaders affect many of our everyday lives and things that we may not be able to see with the naked eye, but in taking a closer look, can see how that impact is widespread. And so, ironically, if you might say it's divine in nature, quite frankly, if you ask me, this song that I penned mid last year called "Letter to a Nation" is very much a combination of my music degree and my policy degree, in dealing with the issues of COVID and racial justice and all of those things. So it's kind of culminated up to this moment in a way that I never quite envisioned. But that's just kind of a little bit about some of my historical background. I've got a grandmother who used to sing opera in New York. So I've got music in my blood. and have for years. I'm just excited to be able to share this piece, and excited to be able to share the message of this piece with your listeners. And just can't wait to hear what y'all think about it.
Awesome. Awesome. So Garrett, like you said, this is a fixed fight, but, you know, because, you know, most don't know, but Garrett just celebrated the birth of his first child, him and his lovely wife. This past summer.
Thank you. Thank you.
We haven't had a chance, and because of COVID, you know, we haven't had a chance, him and I, to really sit down and do our brother-in-law thing, you know, like we always do at family gatherings and things, and I get to pick his brain a little bit. One of the things I always wanted to ask you, what was the feeling when you were on the John F. Kennedy stage for the Center for Performing Arts, knowing that you were going to be the last person, irrespective of the color of your skin, your gender, irrespective of your style of music, but you were going to be the last performer on that hollow stage? What was your emotion like that?
I mean, this was kind of just a barely pre-COVID moment. You know what I mean? We still didn't quite.
What was the date of it? Let everybody know the date, please.
Yeah, so the date of that performance was likely December 23rd of 2019. Mm-hmm. And so this performance, John, that you're referencing, was asked to be the bass soloist for the Handel's Messiah sing-along. Wow. This was an event that had gone on for, I believe, more than 40 years at this point. And if you think about it in COVID context, right now, that's probably like one of the biggest super spreader events you could ever think about, because imagine, right? You're in a concert hall and in the Kennedy Center main stage, and there are 2,500 people singing toward you.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? Now, one of the most beautiful musical experiences I've ever had, but now everything has this COVID lens, and you're just like,
right, wow.
And so to answer your question, I could not have envisioned having had the opportunity to be able to close out the year performing at the Kennedy Center. That was crazy enough as it was. But to be able to be one of the last performances on that stage in that building, right. It's frightening. I mean, it's humbling in a way, but it's frightening that this is where we are now. And so many artists like myself have, you know, had to endure the brutal reality of managing and reinventing our artistry virtually. And it's been treacherous for a lot of people. You know, a lot of folks have had to, you know, make a complete pivot into other streams or, you know, other areas of expertise to just make ends meet, you know, if they're not you know, having to go about it in other means with other types of assistance. And so it's an eerie feeling, man. It's an eerie feeling, and not really knowing again when that will fully resume. I mean, you know, the vaccine is here and beginning to slowly be rolled out, but we don't really know, you know, when folks are going to feel that comfortable being in those types of settings. In mass like that. I mean, you know, it's a different kind of thing, man. So, you know, I hate to feel like it will be a relic of our past, but I'm not totally sure of exactly what the future holds in terms of those types of large performances. I believe we can get there. But as you all know, America's in a very different situation than many countries around the world. So, you know, when we get there, it's going to look a lot different than where a lot of other countries get to.
Yeah, I was taking a look at some of your background, and before we get back to the song, I want to talk about one other piece of you know, some of the stuff that you're involved in, and it was very interesting to me, and that was voice acting, right? And talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, what kind of things are you involved with as far as that's concerned?
Yeah. So that's very still budding, man. I'm still trying to get through in that space.
Aren't we all?
I know, right? So I actually had a run-in with the James Brown, my DeMatha classmate, not classmate, but DeMatha brother, probably about a year and a half or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. Ran into him at my church, and I knew that he had worked with a sound engineer that I had befriended. So I was fortunate enough to be able to come up to him and speak to him. And I said, hey, Mr. Brown, I spoke to my friend, and she's trying to get me to do more with voice acting. He said, oh man, if she says you got the chops, man, and that, then I believe it. You just need to give it your all and keep pushing and just don't give up. So I've been pushing ever since, and hoping to make some bigger moves with that this year. And now that we're in this virtual posture, right, there's a bigger need. Voices, when you start talking about audiobooks, when you talk about commercial spots, all types of things. So trying to get creative with that and utilize some of my own platforms, my YouTube page and others, to just begin to build content, and to be able to kind of sort of attract folks, in that way, and share things that are relevant, share things that are fun, share things that are serious, to show what I'm capable of. So we'll see where that goes. But I think the music route is going to take over for a little bit.
I hear you. We'll definitely share your links. Best believe.
No doubt.
You definitely seem like a natural, man, with the voice. I mean, that baritone is coming in smooth and silky over here.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
So a couple questions before we get into the video, Garrett. I don't want to go too deep into it because I want people to experience it before we talk about it. But bring about for a moment just the muse and how this all got started, because I don't call it a song. I call it an anthem. And even more so with today and what has transpired on our nation's capital, the insurrection.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling. Scott knows that I will get on here and I'll drop some tears because, I really care about our culture. I really care about our country.
Right.
And Scott know, the family legacy of military throughout my family.
Absolutely.
So, I'm torn, but I exactly.
Yeah.
I just want you to just talk about, because now it's taking on, it's growing. That's why I'm saying, that's why I'm calling it an anthem, because your song started and you're going to explain like how it started, but now there's another layer to it. It is growing because it's applicable. It's like water, right? It's going to take the shape of this container, and this thing is going to grow. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show to talk about Letter to a Nation. So please just talk a little bit about the muse and how this all came about for you, please.
I appreciate that, John. So, I mean, this was one kind of fateful day in March where I literally woke up with these lyrics, this music in my head. Probably about 90% of the song was able to write in the first 2 days and just really kind of get it on paper. Inspired by, obviously, COVID and a lot of the racial unrest that was brewing, but had not yet, for 2020 at least, reached the tipping point that it did after George Floyd was murdered.
Around what date is this?
This is, I can't give an exact date, definitely in mid-March. I would say shortly after the shutdowns, right? Shortly after the stay-at-home orders and, us all being sent, for those who were working in offices and got sent home to be, in virtual spaces, virtual posture going forward. Just really, it was kind of in those early days, just waking up with this bewilderment of the fact that this was our new reality.
Yeah.
The first lines of the song, where do I begin? Like, will this ever end? How do we even get here? How long are we going to be here? You know what I mean? Just utter bewilderment. And it took some time to kind of fine tune what I was hoping to develop musically, is I actually used an app called Acapella to sing out all of the parts of the song that I was hearing. Because as I'm kind of growing in my, usage of keys and pianos, I got a little mini studio in the house. I knew the sound that I wanted, but I knew I couldn't quite create that just on keyboard. So I actually sang what I heard in all of the different parts, to just give myself a sense of like, okay, should I try to take this to the next level? This is what I believe the song will actually sound like. Fast forward a month or so, and I start to shop it with a couple of producers that I knew. And once I finally landed on connected with my guy Aaron Harden, he took it and just made magic out of it. Connected with all the instrumentalists who were on the song with Levi Stevens and Vernon Proud. Just made it something incredible. And so from there, it was really kind of becoming more than I even envisioned it. And the unique thing, I think when people hear it, I won't give away the genre, but it wasn't a genre that I envisioned myself singing in. And my biggest struggle was actually whether or not I was going to be the one to actually pursue recording this myself. Because I wrote it and I heard a few other artists. I heard Eric Roberson, I heard a John Legend, in the spirit of even like the Selma Glory piece, you know what I mean? Like that was what was running through my mind as I was writing this. And I didn't really hear it as much of a soul type piece as much as I did of a different genre that for me, I had never sung in before. And so the question was, could I really deliver this? This is my question to myself. Could I really deliver this with the level of artistry and the level of integrity that the song deserves? Not so much that, all these people hear it and want to do this and want to do that, but that I really give it the integrity so people get the value, the meat of the song, the message of the song, irrespective of what I'm bringing to it. So if I'm being genuine about my delivery, is that going to be enough? You know what I mean? And so I had to really work on myself, and build that self-confidence that, gee, you can do this, man. Like if it's going to have to be you, it's going to have to be you. And so the exciting thing about this being my very first solo record, I've done a couple of little features from some years ago, but this being the first solo project as an artist and doing it in this genre in this way, it was just mind blowing, man. It was just mind blowing. And then kind of to close out, to finally get to the point of releasing the song and creating this video, I worked with this awesome 2-woman media company called Make Scene Media, right in the Silver Spring, Maryland area, and gave them the vision for what I was trying to create. And the way that they took this project and created a visual around it is something that I think is just, it just blew me away. It gave the song, the every word, the visual weight that for me, you don't get just when you listen to the song. Mm-hmm. So even when I was preparing to, when we finally got video shot and everything was ready, I was more concerned about getting the video exactly right. I had the music already straight, but I had to go through the distribution and make sure the release and this and that, all mm-hmm. parts of getting the song out there were straight. And that stuff is just on the back burner. I'm like, I'll get to it. I got to make sure this video is right. I got to make sure this video is right. Because when people see this video, it's going to be a whole different thing than when you just hear the audio. It just creates a different experience. It creates, I think, a visceral reaction. Yeah. And one of very mixed emotions. So that's a little bit of how we got here. But I gotta say, while this song is really dealing with coping with grief, acknowledging anger, acknowledging the frustration of what 2020 was, is also in some way, shape, or form opening a door for hope. It's also in some way, shape, or form saying that this doesn't have to be how the story ends. We may be in a certain place, but this doesn't have to be how this ends. And it's going to take more than just us, more than folks that look like us, to make up their minds to help us all get there together. But we can actually come together to make this thing happen. So yeah, it was born from a tough place, from a I'll say a sad place, you know, with COVID being at the forefront, and then in the wake of George Floyd, the finishing touches in what is the spoken word piece at the end, which is what inspired that. So it came from a heavy place, but my hope is that once folks hear it, once folks see it, will make people want to say, what is my own letter? What is it that I have that I need to express? You know, whether it's practically, certainly not like what the hell they did today on the Capitol, or what is creative, you know, what is creatively a way to execute what it is that I feel like I need to say, so that we can all share in this path toward a better democracy, a better sense of who we are as Americans. So there's going to be a lot more on that in the coming months ahead, but that's the theme. That's the theme of what we're trying to get to. Letter to a nation. What is your letter?
Man, I think you captured pretty much everything that I was feeling when I saw your video, right? So, you know, this is a hip hop show, and we, you know, John and I dig in when it comes to lyrics. So I was really paying attention to you, you know, when you were singing that song, and I could hear, you know, knowing now what you said about, you know, your educational background and your master's degree and that policy that you studied, I could hear that injected into your lyrics, right? And so what doesn't escape me is the buildup, you know, without giving too much away, because I know that we're about to show the video. I know John's about to jump in and cut me off here, but I don't want to give too much away. But, you know, what doesn't escape me is the buildup to where we are today, right? I mean, you touched on all the various aspects, right, that got us to where we are today, from, you know, the government, you know, inaction, you know what I mean? The racial inequality, right? The frustration, you touched on that, the frustration of us, you know, being inside and just wanting to go outside, and, you know, just the visuals of that video. I mean, I think you captured it perfectly, man. I mean, what you said about, you know, how those two work together, you know what I mean? So
that's love. Appreciate it, Scott. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man.
So here's what we're going to do, because I don't think we can hold back this dog any longer. This dog is now walking me versus me walking the dog. Garrett, why don't you set up the video, and why don't you give us a quick setup of the video, please?
No doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, excited to introduce you to my debut single, Letter to a Nation. Song is about coping with grief, acknowledging anger, and not staying silent in the face of frustration and tragedy. The song opens the door to hope and healing, and it is my hope that after you hear this song, you'll be asking yourself the question, what is my letter to a nation? Without further ado, Letter to a Nation, y'all.
Where do I begin? Will it ever end? How did we even get here? How long will we be here? When will we win? Our time seems like it's running thin. Confusion and delusion are sinking in. Our faith is being shaken. Might bend, but it ain't breaking. Would you listen to my letter to a nation? Dear America, oh, dear America, you say no, it can't be me. Turn around and infect your family. Our arrogance is delirious. We gotta take this serious. When we all believe one day we'll all be free. The Fed says handle, but it ain't. Let science lead the way when we came. Cases rise and rise and rise. You say everything's alright, but it ain't right when lives are costing lives. Dear America, dear America, dear America, dear America. Economies are crashing left and right. Stores and businesses close with no end in sight. Our nurses and our doctors and all the first responders are fighting for supplies with all their might. Jobs are gone and loved ones are dying. Whether from the virus or the color of our skin. Someone call me when the nightmare ends. Call me when we can go outside again. Yeah. Call me when we can go outside again. When the currents of justice breach the stubborn levees of racism, unleashing an ever-flowing stream of reparations and reconciliation, call me. When justice is defined by the fact that my black life matters also, not just his, call me. When my jogging, walking, driving, eating, playing, sleeping, babysitting, or simply just existing is no longer an invitation for a modern-day lynching, call me. When allies issue more than just battle cries and begin converting the hearts and minds of family, friends, and doubters, redeeming the nation like a 21st century Azusa Street Holy Ghost encounter, call me. When they see us and don't fear us, our skin, or our kin, call me. Call me when we can go outside again.
That was powerful. Every time I see that video, it really, the visual aspects of that video prior to today had a very large significance to me. I really think your videographer team, I think you guys nailed it. But even more so today. And you know what it reminds me of? And all three of you will get this visual.
Yeah.
Think about a New York scene, picture, movie, whatever, prior to 9/11. Remember how you always saw the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then think about the Biggie Smalls video, right? The World Trade Center's in the background, right? Now, take into your heart for a minute how our nation's capital, Black Lives Matter Plaza, where you tore it up. Think about how that capital, where you brought in everything there. Think about how that looks today. And that's why I say your song is an anthem. It is not a song, because it is growing. It started as the Bible says, faith as good as a mustard seed, right? Faith as much as a mustard seed. Your anthem started just like a mustard seed. And look at where it's going now.
Yeah, yeah, that's love. That's love. That's love. Yeah. This is the song, I guess I should have said this earlier, but this is a song that I wish I never had to write.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's painful.
And then certainly as being like, you know, first, you know, getting out there as a solo artist, it's like, man, living with the reality of what we're living and experiencing, and then having a song that you feel like really, you know, captures everything that's going on, and feeling like that's heavy on your heart to share with people. That's tough, man. That's tough. And you know, even in the context of you know, thinking about all the different type of musical influences, from gospel to country to blues, to, you know, even some poetry slam. I mean, you could call it kind of, you know, slow spitting bars toward the end, you know what I mean, to try to drive home this message about, you know, call me when we can go outside again. Like, yeah. It's more than just call me when this virus is over. It's more than just call me when you know, I have to worry about my newborn son growing up and being shot by police. It's more than just, you know, call me when democracy is, you know, restored. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Yeah. And that's why that question at the end about what is your letter is so powerful, I think, because again, it's not about, you know, once it fades to black, oh, the song is over, and like, oh, that made me feel some kind of way, right? But now what do I feel urged to do? What do I feel like I must do now that I've seen this? What has changed about me now that I have experienced this, my own journey throughout 2020, and now how this song kind of gives it different light and different perspective. What am I going to do with that? And my hope is that folks will feel empowered by this to do their own thing, man, to speak their own truth, so that we can get to a place of better, man. And part of it, like it takes all of us being able to speak up and figure out, like, well, what is my outlet? You know what I mean? Because everybody's got something. You know, it might be a creative talent, it might be something a bit more practical, but we've all got something that we can do. And so I hope that the message of this song really impresses upon people and your listeners and all who may listen and watch that video to think about that, to consider that, and think about what their own actions could be.
You know what, Garrett, you bring up an excellent point. I was just, you know, listening to you talking about when can we go outside, and, you know, typically, you know, speaking also as a creative, you know, what hits is, you know, it's based on a demographic, right? It's based on a user base, right? Yeah. But the questions that you were asking in that song, the things that you were saying in that song, you know, I think for like the first time, you know, in probably, you know, our history, you know, is the questions that you were asking apply to everybody. You know what I mean? not just, you know, the kids in San Francisco, right? Or, you know, the hip hop heads in Brooklyn. It applies literally to everybody across all genres. You know what I mean? And I think that one aspect, or, you know, if I could pick one aspect of your song, the thing that really hit me the hardest was when can we go outside? I'm like, that applies to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And couple that with that one scene when you're walking through the park and these little white flags on the ground. I didn't recognize that right away, you know?
Man.
And I was just like, what is this? You know? And then I saw the number right on the sign, and I was like, wow, like we are inundated, right? We're saturated with news about COVID, right? I mean, we hear it every day. It's like,
right.
I hate to say this, it's true, but I think we're getting desensitized to it a little bit, right? But when you see it, right, when it's visualized in that way, and you realize what it is you're looking at, a flag for everyone that's died from COVID, then it hits home like, wow, this thing is real, man. You know what I mean?
And I got to tell you about that. The artist, the big artist who took it upon herself to create this memorial. She got some help to put it together and got a permit in DC to put it together. But that was actually up in October. Got some press about it in October, and we shot there November 21st, Saturday, November 21st. Do you know that joint was gone at the end of November?
Wow. Why?
The permit was only for.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
It was installation art. And can you talk about the artist who set that installation art piece up? Because the most symbolic, and like I said, your anthem keeps growing on me. One of the most symbolic scenes in your video before today was, and it still is very symbolic, was when you're walking through the installation art piece for the COVID victims, and your arms are outstretched to the side, and it's a wide shot of it. I think that grabs the gravity of it. You got to see how wide that plot of installation art is, and it brought me to tears the first time I saw it.
In America Flags is the social media push that's behind it. The artist Suzanne, I always mess up her last name, so I just get In America Flags is the best way to find where that art resides, and it's so jarring because how we got there. The videographer Taylor went down to do a trial run to just see kind of where we would end up shooting. We had some idea of places we would shoot, and so she's leaving the city and is coming around RFK in the stadium and sees this field and is trying to figure out what is going on. So she's right on the other side of the Armory and finds out about this display, this memorial display. And we just knew from that point on that we had to find a way to incorporate that in. And Suzanne was just so welcoming to make sure that we could display that for the video. It's tragic, as tragic as it is. And at that time, this is November, obviously we're very much in it. And, looking at 257, I think it was, 1,000 folks that had passed from COVID, right? Now we're looking at January 6th, 6 weeks later, and that number is 100,000 more people in 6 weeks. And this has been going on since March of last year, in 6 weeks. So it just, if her permit hadn't run out, she would have ran out of room for flag.
Yeah.
Let's grapple with that, right? Just so we wanted to make sure that in displaying her art, that we were as sensitive to each and every person, each and every caretaker, each and every first responder who has had to administer aid towards someone, all of the unnamed graves that we may never find. Know about the New York incident from the Spanish flu, and how, from my understanding, how that's had to now be used over again, that small island where there was mass graves, and just so many things to just speak to and give light to just the gravity of this tragedy, and where the national mourning is. You know what I mean? To really kind of grapple with, as a country, how have we not, and it's up to leadership. It's purely leadership, and there's been a massive failure on a lot of levels with leadership. But this has got to be the thing that tops it all, for me at least. And so to see so many folks that are hurting, I wanted to make sure that there was room for us to be able to mourn together, so that we could begin to find a way to begin the process of healing. We still got to do the things. We've still got to wear our masks. We still got to social distance. We still got to, as the vaccine is rolling out, make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and hopefully taking that to make sure we can get to a point where we can kind of be back in spaces together. Like whatever it's going to take for us to be able to get to a place where folks are no longer dying, our healthcare systems are not being overwhelmed, folks' jobs and the economy is being able to kind of get back to where it needs to be. We've got to take the steps from a health standpoint, and it takes real leadership. So I'm hopeful in our new incoming administration that in just today finding out that the House, the Senate, and the White House are all Democratic. So President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris should have no problem getting policy through. So hopefully with that in mind, additional stimulus and whoever knows what else with regard to relief for COVID, and certainly all the issues around racial injustice will be able to be championed as well. But yeah, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of hurt. Hopefully this helps folks deal with that. This song helps folks deal with that a little bit.
And absolutely. I mean, I just listening to you talk, about, all these different issues and things of that nature. We were talking, earlier about, White House correspondent April Ryan talking about now Senate leadership is discussing, the 25th Amendment, which, to my knowledge, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, that's an unprecedented situation. And right up the street from where I'm at right now, President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are bunkered. The whole block is locked down. I mean, wow. I don't recognize this. You know what I mean? I don't recognize what's going on. This doesn't feel like home. You know what I mean? This feels like something else. And another feeling that I had when watching your video was from one of my favorite movies, I Am Legend. Here you are, you walking through the street, dressed impeccably. You're singing, to God, your hands out raised. You know what I mean? And it's, where do we go from here? I think you even asked that question, man. You know what I mean? Right. And it's a level of frustration that we all feel, and I definitely applaud you for tackling that difficult topic, and it was definitely felt.
Yeah, so. I mean, and what you just said there a moment ago, Garrett, about the taxing situation our healthcare workers are under. I would be very remiss if we didn't, shout out Danny, your sister, and give, call out, Meaty. I'm not going to use people's last names. This is an open forum, but they know who they are, and they know that we love them and we appreciate them. My cousin Sherry, we love you guys and we appreciate you guys, because you guys are out there, and to all the other healthcare workers, first responders that we didn't mention, that were within the family, you guys are out there and they're on the front lines. They are really acting in a very heroic fashion. Absolutely. And it just brings them, I don't know if either one of you heard, but California has their director of their EMT division for the state has issued an order yesterday stating that if a person is not going to survive unless they make it to a hospital, leave them where they are because we're overcrowded.
Yeah.
So if you can't resuscitate and get a pulse and get a person breathing where they are, then you can't transport them to any hospital. Imagine that that's your loved one.
We're at a very crucial juncture, and sometimes you wonder, where's the outrage when you see things or hear things that are just like,
we're numb to it.
I can't believe that this is happening, but this is sort of one of the this is it. Like, if there were a time where we all should be throwing up our hands trying to figure out what do I need to do today to change something to help curb this, because this is going to get out of control. And I fear that just economically speaking, that even as the Federal Reserve has maintained very low rates over the course of the last few years, is trying to use that as a way to entice the investment community to continue to do what they're doing so that the economy continues to stay afloat. It's very difficult to juxtapose so many folks that are out of work and seeing the stock market continue to do as well as it is.
Yeah.
There's something missing. That there's a bit of an incongruence going on when your economy and your people are suffering the way that they are, but profits and corporates, and I work for a corporation. I mean, I get it, that are still on the rise. There's just something that's morally off that we have to, as a country, deal with the human aspect of this and really figure out how we look out for each other, so that we can be better for each other. In this is a unique time, and I hope the message that you all are championing through this song and others, as you decide to listen and share it, will champion. We gotta get better, man. We gotta get better. This is not normal. This is not us. This is not who we want to be. I mean, man, we have big plans for 2020. I mean, a list long. It rhymed for crying. We were going to do so much in 2020, and look at how quickly things turned. Yeah. And so we have the opportunity to do some things differently this year. And I sincerely hope that as a community, we think about our beautiful sister, Dr. Kizzy, who's been leading all the research and the development of the vaccine, that we're taking all those things seriously and know that our community needs to be at the forefront of making sure that we get well. Because when America catches a cold, damn it, Black America catches the flu, and we know what it is. Yeah. We know what it is, and we gotta do different this time around. We gotta figure it out. We gotta figure it out and hold each other up. We're gonna get through it. It's gonna take some work.
No doubt. Garrett, I mean, what's next for you artistically? What do you have coming up that we can look forward to and promote here at the Light Podcast?
Oh man, I'm afraid this song is gonna be relevant for a little while longer. So I'm gonna be pushing this for the next couple of months for sure. Just to continue to try to get the message out there. Still writing. So hopefully as the year goes on, I'll continue to get some inspiration. I really am looking forward to the song that is kind of the answer to Call Me When We Go Outside Again. I'm looking forward to something that's more along the lines of, man, it feels good to be outside again. You know what I mean? And bop, and we can be back outside on the barbecue and invite our friends over, something like that. That's gonna make us feel good about getting back together again. So that's kind of what's in the works and what I'm hoping to get to. But in the meantime, it's a meantime.
Awesome. Well, you have big fans here. We're of course going to share this on all our social media platforms. Is there a social media platform that you'd like to promote here on the show?
No doubt. All of my social is at Real GP Jackson, at Real GP Jackson, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hit me, friendly. I hit you back. It's all love. It's all love. It's Letter to a Nation. your boy GP Jackson. Excited to be here on the Light Podcast. Appreciate you, brothers.
Perfect. John, I'm gonna let you take us out, man.
And Garrett, we definitely appreciate you being on the podcast, in not a more poignant time than today. Letter to a Nation is not just a song, it's an anthem. And it carries with it insight, it carries with it strength, it carries with it healing, it carries with it a direction, and it also carries with it, which is the most important, like GP Jackson already said, it carries with it a call to action. What is your letter to the nation? We always talk here on the Light Podcast on politicking when we discuss these social issues. We always end with an action. What is your letter to a nation?